We're talking Hall of Fame, Premier League Hall of Fame. Now, did I not see Frank gets inducted in there today, doesn't he? Frank Lampard, which is terrific. There's Chelsea supporting Joe through the glass, celebrating that fact. Yeah, so that's great, and that's well deserved, isn't it?
Yeah, Frank was superb. You know, I was with him at West Ham for a short amount of time, and he was excellent. Even though he did get booed by the West Ham fans, because they thought he had some kind of special treatment getting into the team. But he was a hard worker, went on to produce amazing performances and numbers, and fully deserves to be in there.
Well, that's today. Inducted yesterday, Simon, even after his infamous kung fu kick against your beloved Crystal Palace, Monsieur Cantona, Eric Cantona. Now, I've seen some messages this morning saying, after what happened, that infamous moment at Selhurst Park, Cantona shouldn't be in there. What do you think in terms of being inducted to the Premier League Hall of Fame? Eric, on merit? Is there any argument?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you can make an argument for many players' behaviour in the past. You can look at Maradona and say there's things about Maradona that would take him out of being receiving the accolades that he's received. But Eric Cantona was an absolutely outstanding footballer, was the catalyst for the almost re-emergence of the second phase of Man United. So I think absolutely, from a sheer talent, sublime point of view, he was one of the blueprints for how the Premier League started to become so interesting and engaging. So absolutely, of course, Eric Cantona should be in the Premier League
absolutely, no doubt about it, Trevor.
Icon at Manchester United, even to this day, they still sing his name. That's what effect he had on the Manchester United fans. Won the Division 1 with Leeds.
Yes.
Then went to Manchester United, won the Premier League, did the double, did all sorts at Manchester United. I had the misfortune of playing against him. Man mountain, 6'2", big boned. Amazing player, maverick. And if you're going to start arguing things that players have done, should Zidane be in the Hall of Fame when he did his headbutt against Italy in the World Cup final? Of course he's going to be in there because he was an unbelievable player. Same applies to Eric Cantona. King Eric. Super.
King Eric. I mean, everybody remembers that moment, though, it's fair to say.
Yeah.
When he launched himself into the crowd.
I went to the game.
You went to the game?
I was at the game, yeah.
I mean, what was it? Well, you were at the game. What was it? What do you remember of the moment? Did you see it?
We were all caught up in the game, but I remember speaking years later to Steve Bruce when he was managing at Palace and saying, he talked to me about the Cantona incident, and they were all, because Cantona was able to pretty much do what he wanted. He's one of the few players that Alex Ferguson kind of allowed to do what he wanted and didn't bother trying to control him. But he said we all sort of watched it. He said, Brucey was saying we all sort of watched it and came off and we walked into the dressing room after the game and there was just this air of crying out loud, what's he done now sort of thing. And he said, and Ferguson just walked over to him and went, Eric, really? And that was about it. And Cantona sort of sat there in the corner and realised that even he had pushed the envelope just a little bit too far. I mean, look, the guy that the background to it was that this guy was shouting some form of anti-French racism towards him, and Cantona was just lost his mind, lost his head, and it was played out in the way that it was played out. You know, it was as shocking, I suspect, as perhaps Paolo Di Canio pushing a referee over. You know, and unfortunately, it stays with Palace because that particular fan and that particular instance was part and parcel of the folklore that goes with Eric Cantona. I still, to this day, haven't the faintest idea what Eric talks about.
I can't believe you're comparing Paolo Di Canio pushing the referee over to this.
Why not?
Well, because he went in with a flying kung fu kick.
Absolutely. But he basically, it's like, can you imagine walking up into the street to a police officer and pushing him over? This is what Di Canio did. He pushed the ultimate authority on the pitch. This guy lost his head with a fan. I know it's ridiculous and jumping in and doing a kung fu kick, but they're in the same sort of bracket. Maybe you're right. Maybe one's more extreme than the other, but they're in the same sort of camp, aren't they?
I mean, but both incidents, to be fair to Simon, massively in the glare of publicity.
Yep.
I mean, the Cantona moment is one, though, that an entire nation went, what?
Yeah. And I was part of that. With the Di Canio one, in a way, I got lucky when he did that because he ended up getting released, coming to West Ham. Harry Redknapp gave me another opportunity and I forged a fantastic partnership with him. So
Sure thing. I mean, I noticed somebody there, I won't mention the name, I can't even be bothered. I love the way he calls me the Scottish Goblin. That's fine. Did the Scottish Goblin just question Cantona? Pathetic. No, I'm not. He's got a wee, seen a wee postage stamp up there, the Che Guevara. He must be a real lefty, this fella.
Goblin's better, isn't it?
Caledonian Goblin, I would prefer, just the Goblin would do. Tartan Goblin would be all right. Could you, Simon?
I shouldn't put those tweets up, you know. I really should.
Really. I saw you doing it there in amongst a sea of Lemsip capsules. Could you have handled a player like Cantona? If you were the owner of the club.
But it wouldn't have been me to handle him, would it? It would have been the manager. You know, you have characters in dressing rooms. You have people. I mean, crying out loud, Neil Ruddock. You know, with the character that Neil was, it was difficult. I drop kicked him out. But the idea that you have to handle these players, and that's the manager's job. You don't really want to get too near it, do you? No is the answer. I probably couldn't.
What actually happened with? Did you not have an incident with your goalkeeper, Alex Klinko?
No, Trevor did.
2002.
Trevor did.
What happened with Trevor Francis?
Yes.
What happened with that?
Well, I've written about it, so there's no point being all coy about it. Trevor was under a lot of pressure. There'd been a situation earlier on in the previous year where he had an altercation in the dressing room with Clinton Morrison. He hadn't dealt with it, and the dressing room sort of looked at Trevor, called on a confrontation, hadn't dealt with it. Clinton had got all clever with him, so he'd carried this through into the following season. We played the first game of the year home to Bradford in the Championship. They scored a goal in the last minute, and apparently Alex, sitting on the bench, goalkeeper, smirked. So Trevor clunked him, right, and then denied that he did. And when he denied that he did, the police wanted to see him after the game, and I went to see Trevor, and Trevor had wrapped his hands up in like a boxer. And I said to him, he said, I didn't hit him. I said, well, then why are you wrapping your hands up like a boxer with ice, Trevor? Go out the door, I'll deal with the police. Anyway, the way I dealt with it was to go around the training ground the following day and said to Alex, who was beside himself, because he's a great big man mountain of a Latvian goalkeeper, and I walked both him and Trevor around the training ground. And Alex's agent was a guy called Phil Graham. You ever come across him?
No.
Absolute wretch. Was saying to me that ultimately the way to solve the situation, Simon, is you pay him all his money up and give me 50 grand and I'll sort it out for you. Really? So I got them to walk around the training ground and to try and resolve it, and they weren't resolving it. And Trevor was saying, please, Alex, don't prosecute me. This was a situation where we all lost our head. So I said to Alex, look, here's the best thing for it. Trevor, put your hands behind your back. Alex, give him a clonk. Trevor went ashen, right, and said, Alex, no, I know to this. I put it behind me, and that was the end of that. And of course, then 3 weeks later, we played Leicester away. Alex walks out the dressing room, refuses to play.
Wow.
We got no goalkeeper.
Wow.
Refuses to play
Because of that incident.
We had to fly a goalkeeper down on a helicopter with me to get him to play.
Wow.
What an
well managed.
scene.
Yeah, well handled. There's my HR department in full flow.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.